The sun-baked earth of Thabanoka bore witness to generations of life, a silent keeper of stories whispered on the wind. The village, a cluster of mud huts nestled amongst ancient baobab trees, pulsed with a rhythm as old as the land itself. Life revolved around the cycles of the sun and the moon, the planting and the harvest, the ebb and flow of the nearby river. The people, a close-knit community, shared a deep connection to the land and to each other, their lives interwoven like the threads of a well-worn blanket. They were a people of resilience, their spirits unbroken by the hardships they had faced, but a new fear was beginning to take root in their hearts. Saifo, a young boy on the cusp of manhood, carried the weight of his community's fears on his small shoulders. He was a quiet observer, his eyes taking in the details that others missed, his mind always searching for answers. He was not like the other boys, who spent their days playing games and boasting of their strength. Saifo was drawn to the stories of the past, to the legends of heroes and villains, of brave warriors and malevolent spirits. He had an old soul, a wisdom beyond his years, and a deep-seated belief in the power of good to overcome evil. His younger sister, Zola, was his anchor, a bright spark of joy in his otherwise serious world. Her laughter was like music to his ears, her presence a constant reminder of what he had to protect. The Tokoloshe, a creature of darkness and dread, had always been a part of their lives, a shadowy figure lurking at the edge of their awareness. But now, it was no longer a distant threat, a story told around the fire. It had become a tangible presence, a monster that stalked their village, stealing their children in the dead of night. The fear was palpable, a heavy blanket that smothered their spirits, silencing their laughter and replacing it with hushed whispers of terror. The elders, their faces etched with worry, tried to reassure the villagers, but their words rang hollow against the backdrop of the disappearances. They were losing their grip, their traditional methods proving useless against this ancient evil. The first child taken, Thabo, had been a boisterous boy, full of life and mischief. The second, Namsu, a gentle girl with a heart of gold. Their absence was a gaping hole in the fabric of the community, a constant reminder of the Tokoloshe's power. Saifo, watching the despair that had settled over his village, felt a burning anger rise within him. He knew that he couldn't stand idly by while the Tokoloshe continued to terrorize his people. He had to do something, anything, to stop it. He felt a responsibility, not just to his sister and his family, but to the entire village, to the generations that had come before him, and to those that would come after. He started to spend his days in the bush, studying the signs of the Tokoloshe, searching for clues that might lead him to its lair. He learned to read the tracks in the dust, to listen to the whispers of the wind, to understand the language of the animals. He sought the wisdom of the elders, listening to their stories and their warnings, trying to piece together a plan to confront the Tokoloshe. He knew that the task ahead of him was dangerous, but he was not afraid. He was driven by a fierce love for his family and his community, a burning desire to protect them from the evil that had invaded their lives. He would face the Tokoloshe, even if it meant sacrificing everything. The village, once a vibrant hub of life, was now a shadow of its former self. The laughter had faded, replaced by a heavy silence. The children stayed close to their mothers, their eyes wide with fear. The men, their faces grim, stood guard throughout the night, their spears and shields useless against an enemy they could not see. The Tokoloshe had not only stolen their children, it had stolen their peace, their hope, their very sense of security. Saifo knew that if they were to survive, they had to find a way to fight back, to reclaim their village from the clutches of darkness. And he knew, deep in his heart, that he was the one who had to lead the way. Thabanoka, nestled in the heart of the Bushveld, was a place where the earth breathed life into everything. The red soil, baked hard by the relentless sun, was the foundation upon which their lives were built. Ancient baobab trees, their gnarled branches reaching towards the sky like the arms of old gods, stood as silent sentinels, witnessing the passage of time. The river, a ribbon of silver snaking through the landscape, was the lifeblood of the village, providing water for their crops and quenching their thirst. The air was thick with the scent of dry grass and wood smoke, a constant reminder of the natural world that surrounded them. The village itself was a collection of simple mud huts, their thatched roofs blending seamlessly with the landscape, a testament to their harmonious existence with nature. Saipho, unlike the other children, had always been drawn to the shadows, to the hidden corners of the world. His father, a respected hunter, had taught him the ways of the bush, how to track animals, how to read the signs of nature, and how to respect the spirits that dwelled in the land. But it was his grandmother, a woman with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of the ages, who had instilled in him a deep understanding of the Tokoloshe and its malevolent nature. She had told him stories of brave warriors who had faced the Tokoloshe in the past, of their triumphs and their defeats, and of the importance of courage and resilience in the face of evil. These stories had shaped Saipho, making him the quiet, observant, and determined young boy that he was. Zola, on the other hand, was a whirlwind of energy and light. She was the embodiment of joy, her laughter infectious, her spirit untamed. She was fiercely protective of Saipho, always looking out for him, always ready to offer a comforting word or a playful nudge. She had a deep connection to the animals of the bush, often spending hours watching them, learning their ways, and feeling a sense of kinship with them. She was the heart of the village, the one who could always bring a smile to the faces of those around her. Her innocence and her boundless optimism were a stark contrast to the darkness that was beginning to engulf their world. The relationship between Saipho and Zola was the cornerstone of their lives. They were not just siblings. They were best friends, confidants, and protectors of each other. They shared a bond that transcended words, a deep understanding that was forged in the crucible of their shared experiences. Saipho, with his quiet strength and his unwavering determination, was Zola's protector, always shielding her from the harsh realities of the world. Zola, with her boundless energy and her unwavering optimism, was Saipho's light, always reminding him of the good that still existed in the world. They were two halves of a whole, each complementing the other, each making the other stronger. The Tokoloshe, a creature of nightmare, was a perversion of everything that they held sacred. It was a creature of pure evil, born from the darkness and fueled by the fear of the villagers. It was said to be small and hairy, with glowing red eyes and sharp teeth, a twisted mockery of the human form. It could move silently through the night, invisible to all but those with a pure heart or those who had been marked by its evil. It was a creature of the spirit world, able to cross the boundaries between the living and the dead, and it was hungry for the souls of the innocent. The Tokoloshe was a threat not just to their lives, but to their very way of being, to the harmony that they had worked so hard to maintain. Saipho's motivation was not just to protect his sister, or his family, or even his village. It was something deeper, something that resonated with the very core of his being. He felt a responsibility to his ancestors, to the generations that had come before him, and to the generations that would come after him. He knew that if he didn't stand up to the Tokoloshe, the darkness would consume them all. He was driven by a sense of justice, a belief that good must always triumph over evil, and a fierce determination to protect the innocent. He was ready to face the Tokoloshe, even if it meant sacrificing everything, because he knew that it was the right thing to do. The whispers started, hushed tones about the old well, how it was cursed, a gateway for the Tokoloshe, not just a creature of the night. Saipho overheard the elders, their fear now laced with a grim acceptance, revealing a secret pact their ancestors made, a sacrifice that had been forgotten, and now the Tokoloshe had come to collect. The truth was a heavy stone in Saipho's gut, a terrible twist that meant more children were in danger, and he was running out of time. Saipho's goal was clear: to stop the Tokoloshe and bring back the stolen children. But the path ahead was shrouded in shadow, fraught with danger and uncertainty. His first obstacle was the elders who, now burdened by the weight of their ancestors' forgotten pact, were reluctant to act, their fear paralyzing them. They spoke of the old well, a place of darkness and forgotten magic, warning Saipho to stay away, but his heart was set, and he knew that he had to investigate. He started to secretly prepare, gathering herbs and crafting a small spear, his movements precise and deliberate, fueled by a growing sense of urgency. He knew that time was running out and that he had to act quickly before the Tokoloshe claimed another victim. Zola, sensing the change in Sifo, became more determined to help him. She had always been fiercely protective of her brother, and she refused to let him face the Tokoloshe alone. She started to learn the stories of the old ways from the women of the village, listening to their tales of ancient rituals and powerful charms. She discovered that the Tokoloshe had a weakness, a vulnerability that could be exploited, but the knowledge was hidden deep within the ancient lore, guarded by secrets that had been passed down through generations. She knew that she had to find these secrets, that she had to unlock the knowledge that could save her brother and her village. A subplot emerged with the introduction of Mabali, a young woman from a neighboring village who had lost her younger brother to the Tokoloshe years ago. She had heard whispers of the disappearances in Thaba-Noka, and she had come seeking answers, hoping to find a way to avenge her brother's death. She was a skilled herbalist and tracker, with a deep understanding of the spirit world, and she recognized the fear and determination in Sifo's eyes. She offered to help him, sharing her knowledge and her skills, becoming an unlikely ally in his quest to defeat the Tokoloshe. Their shared pain and their common goal forged a bond between them, a silent understanding that transcended words. Sifo's initial attempts to investigate the old well were met with resistance. The villagers, their fear amplified by the elder's warnings, tried to stop him, their faces etched with worry and desperation. They believed that he was walking into a trap, that he was risking his life for a lost cause. But Sifo was resolute, his determination fueled by his love for his sister and his community. He refused to be deterred, his mind set on confronting the darkness that had invaded their lives. He knew that he had to face his fears, that he had to take a stand against the Tokoloshe, even if it meant sacrificing everything. The dynamics between Sifo, Zola, and Mabali became a crucial part of the story. Sifo, the quiet and determined leader, was the driving force behind their quest. Zola, the bright and optimistic heart of the group, provided the emotional support and the unwavering hope. Mabali, the skilled and knowledgeable ally, offered the practical skills and the understanding of the spirit world. They were a team, each with their own unique strengths and weaknesses, each relying on the others to overcome the challenges that lay ahead. Their relationships deepened as they faced the obstacles together, their bonds forged in the crucible of fear and desperation. The first real obstacle they faced was the discovery that the old well was not just a physical place, but a gateway to the spirit world. They found symbols carved into the stone, ancient markings that spoke of a time when the veil between the living and the dead was thin. They realized that they were not just facing a physical creature, but a powerful entity that existed beyond the realm of their understanding. They were out of their depth, facing a challenge that seemed insurmountable, but they refused to give up, their determination fueled by their love and their hope. They knew that they had to find a way to close the gateway, to stop the Tokoloshe from claiming any more victims, and they were willing to risk everything to achieve their goal. The inciting incident, the event that shattered the fragile peace and propelled the story forward, was the disappearance of Zola. It wasn't just another child taken. It was a personal blow to Sifo, a wound that cut deeper than any he had ever known. One moment she was there, her laughter echoing through the hut. The next she was gone, leaving behind an empty space and a silence that was more deafening than any scream. Sifo, who had always been the protector, was now consumed by a desperate fear, a burning rage that threatened to overwhelm him. He knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that the Tokoloshe had taken her, and that he had to act now, before it was too late. The village was plunged into a state of chaos, the fear that had been simmering beneath the surface now boiling over into a frenzy of panic. The mothers wept, their cries echoing through the night, their hearts breaking with the realization that the Tokoloshe could strike at any time, that no one was safe. The men, their faces grim and determined, gathered their weapons, ready to fight, but they were lost, their traditional methods useless against an enemy they could not see. The elders, their faces etched with despair, huddled together, their voices trembling with fear, their hope extinguished by the loss of another child. Saipho, fueled by a mixture of grief and rage, vowed to find Zola, to bring her back, no matter the cost. He knew that he could no longer rely on the elders, that he had to take matters into his own hands. He gathered his small spear, the herbs that Mabali had given him, and a small pouch of charms that his grandmother had left for him, and he set off into the night, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. He was no longer just a boy. He was a warrior, a protector, a force to be reckoned with. The disappearance of Zola had ignited a fire within him, a burning desire to confront the Tokoloshe and avenge his sister. Mabali, witnessing Saipho's pain and his unwavering determination, knew that she had to help him. She had lost her own brother to the Tokoloshe, and she understood the depths of his grief. She knew that the journey ahead would be dangerous, but she was ready to face it with him, to fight alongside him, to avenge the children who had been stolen. She had spent years studying the ways of the spirit world, learning the ancient rituals and the powerful charms that could be used to combat the Tokoloshe, and she was ready to share her knowledge with Saipho. They were bound by a shared purpose, a common goal, a mutual desire to bring an end to the Tokoloshe's reign of terror. The disappearance of Zola was the catalyst that transformed Saipho from a quiet, observant boy into a determined and courageous young warrior. It was the event that forced him to confront his fears, to embrace his destiny, to take a stand against the darkness that had invaded his world. It was the moment that shifted the story from a simmering conflict to a full-blown battle, a desperate fight for survival. The status quo had been shattered, the routine of the village disrupted, and the characters were now on a collision course with the Tokoloshe, their lives hanging in the balance. The night was alive with the sounds of the bush, the chirping of crickets, the hooting of owls, the rustling of leaves. But there was another sound, a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down their spines. It was the sound of the Tokoloshe, a creature of nightmare, a harbinger of death and destruction. Saipho and Mabali knew that they were close, that they were on the right path, but they also knew that they were walking into the heart of danger. They had to be brave, they had to be strong, they had to be prepared to face the Tokoloshe, and they had to do it for Zola, for the stolen children, for their village, and for themselves. The immediate consequence of Zola's disappearance was a profound shift in Saipho's demeanor. The quiet boy was gone, replaced by a young man driven by a fierce determination and a burning rage. He moved with a purpose, his eyes scanning the bush, his senses heightened, every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig a potential clue. He had to find Zola, and he would not rest until he did. He pushed himself harder than ever before, ignoring his fatigue, his hunger, his fear, his focus solely on his mission. The bush, once a familiar place, now felt menacing, the shadows stretching long and distorted, hiding unseen dangers. Mabali, equally driven by her own past trauma, became Saipho's steadfast companion. She shared her knowledge of the spirit world, teaching him how to recognize the signs of the Tokoloshe, how to use the herbs and charms she had given him, and how to navigate the treacherous path ahead. She revealed that the Tokoloshe was not just a physical creature. It was a manifestation of the darkness that resided in the hearts of men, a force that could only be defeated by confronting one's own inner demons. She also warned him that the old well was a gateway to a realm where the laws of the living did not apply, a place where the Tokoloshe was at its most powerful. A new challenge arose in the form of a group of poachers who had been encroaching on the village's territory. They were ruthless and greedy, driven by their own selfish desires, and they had no respect for the land or the people who lived on it. They were not directly connected to the Tokoloshe, but their presence added another layer of danger to Saipho's journey, forcing him to navigate not only the supernatural threats, but also the very real dangers posed by human greed. They were a reminder that evil could take many forms, and that the fight against darkness was not just about confronting the Tokoloshe, but also about confronting the darkness within themselves. The subplot involving the poachers introduced a new character, a young tracker named Themba, who had initially been part of the poachers' group, but had grown disillusioned with their cruelty. He had witnessed their brutality firsthand, and he was disgusted by their lack of respect for the land and the animals. He secretly started to sabotage their operations, hoping to bring an end to their destructive activities. He saw the determination in Sipho's eyes, and he knew that he had to help him, that he had to atone for his past mistakes. He became an unlikely ally, offering his knowledge of the bush and his skills as a tracker to help Sipho in his quest. The expansion of the setting beyond the immediate village added a sense of scale to the story. The bush was no longer just a backdrop. It was a character in itself, a place of both beauty and danger, a realm where the forces of nature and the spirits of the ancestors held sway. Sipho and his companions had to learn to navigate this complex and unforgiving landscape, to understand its rhythms and its secrets, to respect its power and its fragility. They were not just fighting against the Tokoloshe. They were fighting against the forces of nature itself. Thembus's motivations were complex, driven by guilt and a desire for redemption. He had been drawn to the poachers by the promise of wealth and adventure, but he had quickly realized that their greed and their cruelty were destroying everything that he held sacred. He was seeking a way to make amends for his past mistakes, and he saw in Sipho a chance to do just that. He was not just helping Sipho, he was also helping himself, trying to find a way to forgive himself for his role in the destruction that he had witnessed. He knew that he had to fight against the darkness that had taken root in his own heart. The journey became more challenging, the obstacles more difficult, the stakes higher. Sipho and his companions faced not only the threat of the Tokoloshe, but also the dangers posed by the poachers, the treacherous terrain, and their own inner fears. They had to learn to trust each other, to rely on each other, to overcome their differences, and to work together as a team. Their relationships deepened as they faced these challenges, their bonds forged in the crucible of adversity. They were not just fighting for Zola. They were fighting for their own survival, for the future of their village, and for the soul of the land. The emerging subplots, the poachers and Themba's internal conflict, added layers of complexity to the narrative, highlighting the interconnectedness of the characters and the challenges they faced. The story was no longer just about a boy trying to rescue his sister. It was about the struggle between good and evil, the fight for justice, and the power of redemption. It was about the importance of community, the strength of resilience, and the enduring power of hope in the face of unimaginable darkness. The journey had just begun, and the path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty. The journey to the old well became increasingly perilous, the landscape itself seeming to conspire against Sipho and his companions. The once familiar paths became twisted and overgrown, the shadows deepened, and the air grew heavy with a palpable sense of dread. They faced not only the physical challenges of the terrain, but also the psychological toll of their desperate quest, the fear of failure, the guilt of past mistakes, and the growing sense that they were walking into a trap. The stakes were escalating with every step they took, the threat of the Tokoloshe looming larger with each passing moment. The poachers, emboldened by their success and their growing greed, became more aggressive, their presence a constant threat to Sipho and his companions. They were no longer just a nuisance. They were a formidable force, their weapons and their ruthlessness a match for the dangers of the bush. They had become aware of Sipho's mission, and they saw him as an obstacle to their own selfish goals. They were determined to stop him, to eliminate him, to ensure that they could continue their destructive activities without interference. The conflict between Sipho and the poachers became a crucial subplot, adding another layer of complexity to the narrative. Themba's internal conflict deepened, his guilt weighing heavily on his conscience. He had witnessed the poachers' brutality firsthand, and he was haunted by the images of the animals they had slaughtered and the land they had destroyed. He knew that he had to do more than just sabotage their operations. He had to actively fight against them, to make amends for his past mistakes. He had become a valuable ally to Sipho, but he was also battling his own inner demons, struggling to find redemption for his role in the darkness that had invaded their world. His subplot became increasingly intertwined with Sipho's main quest, adding another layer of tension to the story. Mabali, driven by her own past trauma, pushed herself harder than ever before, her knowledge of the spirit world becoming a crucial asset to their journey. She revealed that the Tokoloshe was not just a creature of darkness. It was also a manifestation of the villagers' fears, a product of their collective trauma. She explained that to defeat it, they had to confront not only the Tokoloshe itself, but also the darkness that resided within themselves. She had become more than just an ally. She was a mentor, a guide, a beacon of hope in the darkness. Her subplot became a source of wisdom and guidance for Sifo, adding a layer of depth to the narrative. The tension between Sifo and Mabali grew, their shared pain and their mutual desire to avenge their loved ones creating a bond that was both powerful and complex. They were drawn to each other, but they were also wary, their past traumas making it difficult for them to fully trust. They were forced to confront their own vulnerabilities, to learn to rely on each other, to overcome their fears, and to work together as a team. Their relationship became a crucial element of the story, adding a layer of emotional depth to the narrative. The subplots began to intertwine, the poacher's greed, Themba's guilt, and Mabali's trauma all becoming intertwined with Sifo's main quest. The story was no longer just about a boy trying to rescue his sister. It was about the struggle between good and evil, the fight for justice, and the power of redemption. It was about the importance of community, the strength of resilience, and the enduring power of hope in the face of unimaginable darkness. The stakes were escalating, the tension was mounting, and the characters were on a collision course with their destinies. The closer they got to the old well, the more powerful the Tokoloshe became, its influence permeating the very air they breathed. They could feel its presence, a dark and malevolent force that seemed to be watching them, waiting for them to make a mistake. The shadows seemed to move on their own. The trees seemed to whisper warnings, and the very ground beneath their feet seemed to tremble with fear. They knew that they were walking into a trap, but they were determined to face it, to confront the Tokoloshe, and to bring an end to its reign of terror. The challenges they faced became more difficult, the obstacles more insurmountable, the stakes higher than ever before. They were forced to make difficult choices, to sacrifice their own needs for the greater good, to rely on their courage, their strength, and their faith. They were not just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for their village, for their families, for their ancestors, and for the future of the land. They were walking into the heart of darkness, and they were prepared to face whatever lay ahead. The approach to the old well marked a significant turning point, the air growing heavy with a palpable sense of dread. The trees seemed to twist and contort into grotesque shapes. The shadows danced with a malevolent energy, and the ground beneath their feet seemed to vibrate with an unseen power. The closer they got, the more they felt the presence of the Tokoloshe, its influence permeating every aspect of their surroundings. They knew that they were about to enter a realm where the laws of the living did not apply, a place where they would be tested to their limits. A major turning point came when Themba, in a desperate attempt to atone for his past mistakes, confronted the poachers head-on, drawing their attention away from Sifo and Mabali. He used his knowledge of the bush to his advantage, leading them on a wild chase through the treacherous terrain, buying Sifo and Mabali valuable time to reach the old well. His actions were a testament to his courage and his determination, a sign that he had finally found redemption. His subplot reached its climax, his transformation from a poacher to a protector complete. Sifo, witnessing Themba's sacrifice, felt a surge of gratitude and a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that he could not let Themba's sacrifice be in vain. He had to face the Tokoloshe. He had to bring an end to its reign of terror, and he had to do it for Themba, for Zola, for his village, and for himself. He pushed himself harder than ever before, his determination fueled by his love and his loss, his fear replaced by a burning rage. He was no longer just a boy. He was a warrior, a protector, a force of nature. Mabali, using her knowledge of the spirit world, guided Sifo through the treacherous path leading to the old well. She revealed that the well was not just a physical place. It was a gateway to a realm where the Tokoloshe was at its most powerful. She explained that to defeat it, they had to confront not only the Tokoloshe itself, but also the darkness that resided within themselves. She had become more than just an ally. She was a mentor, a guide, a source of strength and wisdom. Her subplot reached its climax, her knowledge and her experience proving crucial to their survival. The character development of Saipho was significant, his transformation from a quiet, observant boy into a courageous and determined young warrior now complete. He had faced his fears, he had overcome his doubts, and he had embraced his destiny. He was no longer just reacting to the events around him. He was actively shaping them, his actions driven by a deep sense of responsibility and a burning desire to protect his loved ones. He had become the hero that his village needed, the one who would lead them out of the darkness. The setup for the climax was carefully crafted, the tension building with every step they took. They reached the old well, a dark and ominous place, the air thick with a malevolent energy. The well was surrounded by ancient symbols, carvings that spoke of a time when the veil between the living and the dead was thin. They were ready to face whatever lay ahead, their hearts filled with a mixture of fear and determination. The Tokoloshe appeared, its form shifting and distorting, its eyes glowing with an evil light. It was a creature of nightmare, a manifestation of their deepest fears, a force of pure darkness. It was waiting for them, its presence a tangible thing, a suffocating weight that pressed down on them. They knew that they were about to face the greatest challenge of their lives, a battle that would determine not only their own fate, but the fate of their village. The subplots, Themba's sacrifice and Mabali's guidance, had all led to this moment, the culmination of their journey, the final confrontation with the Tokoloshe. They were not alone. They were supported by the sacrifices of those who had come before them, by the knowledge and the wisdom of their ancestors, and by the love and the hope that still flickered in their hearts. They were ready to face the darkness, to fight for their lives, and to bring an end to the Tokoloshe's reign of terror. The moments before the final confrontation were filled with a strange mix of dread and anticipation. Saipho and Mabali, standing at the edge of the old well, felt the weight of their mission pressing down on them. They knew that they were about to face the Tokoloshe, a creature of pure evil, and that their survival depended on their courage, their strength, and their faith. They took a moment to prepare, to gather their thoughts, to focus their energy, and to make sure that they were ready for whatever lay ahead. The air was thick with tension, the silence broken only by the beating of their hearts. A minor confrontation arose when the poachers, having tracked Saipho and Mabali to the old well, made one last attempt to stop them. They were desperate, their greed overriding their fear, their weapons drawn, their eyes filled with malice. But Saipho and Mabali, fueled by their determination and their rage, were more than ready for them. They fought with a ferocity that surprised even themselves, their movements swift and precise, their weapons striking with deadly accuracy. The poachers, outnumbered and outmatched, were quickly defeated, their threat finally eliminated. The defeat of the poachers marked a minor resolution, a victory that provided a brief respite before the final battle. It was a sign that they were on the right path, that they were making progress, and that they were closer than ever to achieving their goal. It was also a reminder that evil could be defeated, that darkness could be overcome, and that hope could prevail, even in the face of unimaginable adversity. It was a moment of triumph, but it was also a moment of reflection, a chance to catch their breath before the final confrontation. Foreshadowing was woven into the narrative through subtle hints and symbolic gestures. The ancient symbols carved into the stone around the old well seemed to pulse with an unseen energy. The shadows danced with a malevolent intent, and the winds seemed to whisper warnings of the dangers that lay ahead. The Tokoloshe's presence grew stronger, its influence permeating every aspect of their surroundings, its evil a palpable force that pressed down on them. The signs were clear. The final battle was imminent, and they had to be prepared for whatever lay ahead. Character alliances were strengthened, the bond between Saipho and Mabali deepening as they faced the challenges together. They had come to rely on each other, to trust each other, to support each other, and to fight for each other. Their shared experiences had forged a bond that was unbreakable, a connection that transcended words, a love that was both powerful and enduring. They were not just allies. They were family, bound by their shared pain, their mutual goals, and their unwavering commitment to each other. The stage was set for the major resolutions, the final confrontation with the Tokoloshe looming large. Saifo and Mabale knew that they had to be prepared for anything, that they had to face their fears, that they had to embrace their destiny. They had come too far to turn back now. They had sacrificed too much to give up, and they were determined to see their mission through to the end. They had to be brave, they had to be strong, and they had to have faith in themselves and in each other. The minor plot resolutions, the defeat of the poachers and the strengthening of character alliances, served as a preparation for the climax, a final opportunity to gather their strength and their resolve before the final battle. They had faced their challenges, they had overcome their obstacles, and they were now ready to confront the Tokoloshe. They had learned valuable lessons, they had grown stronger, and they had become the heroes that their village needed. The old well seemed to pulse with an ominous energy, the air thick with a malevolent presence. The Tokoloshe was waiting for them, its form shifting and distorting, its eyes glowing with an evil light. They knew that they were about to enter a realm where the laws of the living did not apply, a place where they would be tested to their limits. They were ready to face whatever lay ahead, their hearts filled with a mixture of fear and determination. The final moments before the confrontation were fraught with tension, the air thick with a palpable sense of dread. Saifo and Mabale, standing at the precipice of the old well, felt the weight of their mission pressing down on them. They knew that they were about to face the Tokoloshe, a creature of pure evil, and that their survival depended on their courage, their strength, and their faith. They exchanged a look, a silent understanding passing between them, a confirmation that they were ready to face whatever lay ahead together. The silence was broken only by the pounding of their hearts, a rhythm that echoed the intensity of the moment. A final challenge presented itself when the Tokoloshe, sensing their presence, began to manipulate their fears and doubts. It manifested their deepest insecurities, their past traumas, their hidden vulnerabilities, attempting to break their resolve, to weaken their spirit, to make them give up. Saifo was forced to confront the loss of his sister, the guilt of not being able to protect her, the fear that he was not strong enough to defeat the Tokoloshe. Mabale was forced to relive the loss of her brother, the pain of her past, the fear that she would never find peace. They had to fight against their own inner demons, to overcome their doubts, to embrace their strength, and to reaffirm their commitment to their mission. The emotional stakes were raised, the personal struggles of Saifo and Mabale becoming intertwined with the larger conflict against the Tokoloshe. Their journey was not just about defeating a monster. It was about confronting their own fears, healing their past wounds, and finding redemption for their losses. They had to learn to trust themselves, to believe in their own abilities, and to have faith in their own strength. They had to become more than just warriors. They had to become whole. They had to become healed. They had to become the heroes that they were meant to be. The narrative threads began to converge, the subplots of the poachers and Themba's sacrifice now fully integrated into the main storyline. The poachers' greed and cruelty served as a reminder of the darkness that existed in the world, the evil that the Tokoloshe represented. Themba's sacrifice was a testament to the power of redemption, the ability of individuals to overcome their past mistakes and to fight for what is right. Their stories had all led to this moment, the final confrontation with the Tokoloshe, the culmination of their journey. The final obstacles were not just physical, they were also emotional and psychological. Saifo and Mabale had to confront their own inner demons, to overcome their doubts, to embrace their strength, and to reaffirm their commitment to their mission. They had to learn to trust themselves, to believe in their own abilities, and to have faith in their own power. They had to become the heroes that they were meant to be, the ones who would lead their village out of the darkness. The last challenges were designed to test their resolve, to push them to their limits, to make them question their choices. They were forced to confront their own mortality, to face the possibility of failure, and to accept the consequences of their actions. They had to be brave, they had to be strong, and they had to have faith in themselves and in each other. They had to be willing to sacrifice everything to achieve their goal. The stage was set for the climax, the final battle with the Tokoloshe looming large. All the narrative threads had been carefully woven together. All the subplots had been resolved. All the characters had been developed. And all the obstacles had been overcome. They were ready to face their destiny, to confront the darkness, and to fight for the future of their village. The confrontation with the Tokoloshe was a battle for their very souls, a clash between light and darkness that shook the very foundations of the spirit world. The Tokoloshe, a grotesque manifestation of fear and hatred, attacked with relentless fury, its claws tearing at their flesh, its voice a cacophony of despair and malice. Saipho and Mabali, fueled by their love, their loss, and their unwavering determination, fought back with equal ferocity, their weapons striking with precision, their spirits unyielding. The old well pulsed with an ominous energy, the air thick with the scent of blood and fear, the battle raging with an intensity that seemed to consume everything in its path. Saipho, drawing on the wisdom of his ancestors and the strength of his own heart, finally understood the Tokoloshe's weakness. It was not a physical creature. It was a manifestation of the villagers' collective fear, a product of their own inner darkness. To defeat it, they had to confront their own fears, to heal their past wounds, and to embrace their own strength. He used the charms his grandmother had given him, chanting ancient words of power, his voice resonating with a strength that surprised even himself. The Tokoloshe recoiled, its form flickering and distorting, its power waning as the villagers' fear began to subside. Mabali, using her knowledge of the spirit world, guided Saipho through the final stages of the battle. She showed him how to channel his energy, how to focus his intent, how to strike at the heart of the Tokoloshe's darkness. She had become more than just an ally. She was a mentor, a guide, a source of strength and wisdom. Her subplot reached its culmination, her knowledge and her experience proving crucial to their victory. The Tokoloshe screamed, a sound of pure agony, as Saipho's final blow pierced its heart, sending it spiraling into the darkness, its power finally broken. The subplots reached their resolution, the poacher's threat eliminated, Themba's sacrifice honored, and the bond between Saipho and Mabali solidified. The villagers, witnessing the defeat of the Tokoloshe, felt a sense of relief, a wave of hope washing over them. The children who had been stolen were returned, their spirits restored, their fears vanquished. The old well, once a source of dread, was now a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the darkest of evils could be overcome. The main conflict had been resolved, the Tokoloshe defeated, the village restored to peace. Thematic closures were achieved, the story highlighting the importance of courage, resilience, community, and the power of hope in the face of unimaginable darkness. The story was not just about defeating a monster. It was about confronting one's own fears, healing past wounds, and finding redemption for past mistakes. It was a testament to the strength of the human spirit, the ability of individuals to overcome adversity, and the enduring power of love and compassion. The themes resonated throughout the story, culminating in the final victory over the Tokoloshe. The aftermath of the battle was a time of healing and rebuilding. The village of Thabanoka, once shrouded in fear, slowly began to reclaim its vibrancy. The laughter of children once again echoed through the streets. The women gathered at the riverbank, their voices a chorus of joy, and the men worked in the fields, their faces etched with determination. The scars of the Tokoloshe's reign of terror remained, but they were now a reminder of their resilience, their courage, and their ability to overcome even the darkest of evils. The old well, now cleansed of its malevolent energy, became a place of reflection, a symbol of hope, and a reminder of the power of community. Saipho, hailed as a hero, had undergone a profound transformation. He was no longer the quiet, observant boy. He was a young man, a warrior, a leader, his eyes filled with wisdom, his heart filled with compassion. He had faced his fears, he had overcome his doubts, and he had embraced his destiny. He had become the protector that his village needed, the one who would lead them into a brighter future. He continued to learn from the elders, to honor the traditions of his ancestors, and to protect the land that he loved. He knew that the fight against darkness was never truly over, but he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Mobali, having found peace within herself, decided to stay in Thabanoka, using her knowledge of the spirit world to guide and protect the villagers. She became a respected elder, a source of wisdom and guidance, her past traumas transformed into a source of strength and compassion. She continued to teach the children the old ways, the importance of respecting nature, and the power of their own inner strength. She had become a beacon of hope, a reminder that even the deepest wounds could be healed, and that even the darkest of pasts could be transformed into a source of light. The fate of Themba was not forgotten. His sacrifice was honored, his name spoken with respect, and his story told to future generations. He had found redemption in his final act, his past mistakes forgiven, his memory forever etched in the hearts of the villagers. He had become a symbol of courage, a reminder that even those who had lost their way could find their path back to the light. His story served as a warning against greed and cruelty, and a testament to the power of redemption. The epilogue offered a glimpse into the future, hinting at the challenges and triumphs that lay ahead. The village continued to grow and prosper, its people united by their shared experiences, their love for their land, and their commitment to each other. The story of the Tokoloshe became a legend, a tale told around the fire, a reminder of the importance of courage, resilience, and hope. The legacy of Saifo, Mobali, and Themba lived on, inspiring future generations to face their own challenges with bravery, compassion, and faith.